Did you know that there are different colors of white tile? All whites are not created equal in tile world. These are two very different colors. Of course, color online never renders accurately, but this one is more white. This one is more off-white looking, and in comparison, it makes this one look quite yellow. So let me tell you what happened. I was looking through a decorating forum and I saw this post. She was upset because she had installed tile. It was already installed. She chose this color of tile in the store and it's all done and it looks very yellow. And I can share my screen and I can show it to you. And she was not expecting that. And she posted looking for help. I can show you the post. So here's the post. She says, "This is the new guest bathroom we built when we added onto our home. I swear the tile didn't look this yellow when I picked it out at the tile store, but now I'm stuck with it. So help me make it look less yellow. Thinking maybe the white paint needs to be changed." And she's absolutely correct. If we look at this overall, if we look at the design overall, she's in pretty good shape. I mean, the tile in the shower looks really good with the tile on the floor and in the shower pan. And it works really well with the wood tone vanity. And the green beadboard looks very nice with that color palette. So she has a great color palette going on. She has brass fixtures, so it looks great. So really the solution here is to just change the color on the wall so it relates more to the yellow tile. So let's take a look at some of those solutions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back, and it's just me again. So the first strategy I would suggest for her would be to look for a paint color in the same hue family range that aligns better with the tile so it's not so white. This is a sample that I have that I'm guessing is pretty similar to what she chose. And I can see how she made the mistake in the store thinking, oh, that's a nice warm white. It's not too stark. But when she got it home and her lighting, again, it's showing up way too yellow. So we just need to change that color relationship with the color on the wall. Let's back up a minute and talk about how we could have avoided it to begin with. Measure the color. So the reason why this happened is because the lighting in stores and showrooms is typically horrible. So if you're walking through the store with a fan deck or something comparable or color samples trying to match a chip up to a tile or a rug or flooring or anything, how it looks together under the lighting of the showroom or the store is not going to translate or comport back to your house. That color relationship that you aligned on site is going to be different when you get it in situ in your house under your lighting in the context of the contents of your space. It's going to change its color appearance. So how we avoid that is by focusing on the color relationship directly. So what is the color of this tile minus the lighting of the store, the showroom? How do we factor out the lighting that we're looking at the sample under? And the answer is just to measure it. This is my favorite color measurement tool. I'll have a link in the video description. It is a Spectro L from NYX. It is a spectrophotometer. And all you do is measure the tile in the store. So you can tell if it's more or less white just by looking at the numbers in the app. And I teach you how to read all of the numbers in the app in my course called The 4 Pillars of Color. I'm going to show you what the app looks like when I measured the tile using the NYX. And then we're going to talk about some solutions. So let me share my screen. And this is what the tile looked like in the app when I measured it with the app. And we can see that it has a lightness value of 91 and a chroma value of 3.7, and its hue angle is 87.59. So these LCH values are universal, right? This device is the paint store made portable. Every industry you can name is using the same color system. Everyone's using these same notations. So the lightness value for this tile is 91.4. The chroma is 3.77, and the hue angle is 87.59. So let's talk about each one of these values. The L value, the first number, 91, is the lightness value. So that's pretty self-explanatory. It tells you on a scale from 0 to 100 how light the tile looks. And the middle number, 3.77, a lot of people get a little, they stumble on chromaticity, understanding what it means. And chroma is just super simple. It just tells you how colorful a color is. Does it look more neutral? Is it hard to discern a hue parent or what hue family that color belongs to? Or is it a stronger color? And as soon as you look at that color, you immediately know, oh, that color belongs to the yellow hue family. And that's the problem with the tile that she chose and the sample that I'm holding here. There's very little chroma. It has a low chroma of only 3.77. So the end of the chroma scale in the LCH color space goes pretty high. It goes up to like 20 or higher in paint world. So when we see that small number in chroma, we know that there's not a whole lot of color there. And that explains why she wasn't able to discern yellowness in the store. The lighting just wasn't there to do it. So when we measure the color in the store and we understand the numbers, we know before we take anything home, or seriously before we make a purchase, if it's going to be a problem or not. So let's compare these numbers to the whiter tile that I showed you earlier. And let me get back to my window and show you the difference in the numbers and how we can tell if it's going to be too much color. So look at this one, right? This is the whiter tile. Look at that middle number, 0.39. It's a super small number compared to the 3.77 number. So that's how we know there was more colorfulness. So if she was looking for a true white tile, she would have wanted to see a number under probably 0.75 in the middle. If she was in the store using her NICs, measuring tile to make a selection. So that is how we can get in front of this problem before we even take a sample home, and definitely before we make a purchase, and absolutely before anything gets installed. You can measure the color, compare the numbers, and that will help you make an informed decision about which one to select. And when you understand the tile's color from its DNA perspective of lightness, chroma, and hue angle, there are no surprises, right? Unlike this particular case, let me go back to her picture where the color was just showing up to yellow. And even online, I think it conveys just how yellow this tile. It's almost a beige. It's almost like a light beige. It's very colorful. Showing up, how it's showing up in her space. So what do we do about it, right? So going back to my very first suggestion that I mentioned, I would take the measurements from the tile, measure it, write down those numbers. The lightness value of the tile is 91.4. Its chroma value is 3.7, and its hue angle is 87.6. So, okay, it's installed. We just gotta work with what we have now. And in order to move forward, you have to understand what it is that you have to work with, which is why we measure it, get the color data values. And now we're going to go over to the paint color DNA table, because the solution here is to change the wall color to help that tile color make sense and maybe even make it look a little whiter. So let's go over to the paint color DNA table and I'll show you what I found. So let me make sure I have the right screen. And I want to show you a different one. So let me go back and get to the other screen. Because what we did was we went into the paint color DNA table. In here, you can see it. And I entered those numbers from the app. Okay, so I told the paint color DNA table and the filters at the top to show me all of the colors from Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams, the colors that have a lightness value similar to the tile. The one I measured was 91.4. So the range I entered for lightness was 90 to 95 because that's the lightness of this tile. For chroma, I said, show me all the paint colors that have a chroma value between 3 and 4 because our tile here has a chroma value of 3.7. So a nice range around that is 3 and 4. And then last but not least, we have hue angle. And what did I put in there? 95? I have to look around the camera. Our hue angle for this tile is 87.6. We could call it 88. So I backed it up a little bit and I went forward a little bit in hue angle. That's a range. So the hue angle I put in the filter is between 85 and 95. And I have all of my parameters input into the paint color DNA table. So it's a very focused search, searching through all of the colors in Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams because we have the entire collection for both brands in the paint color DNA table. And when I hit the search button, the table turns gray. And I got 4 results. 4. There are only 4 colors out of all of the colors in Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams that align super, super close to the color of the tile that I measured. So close with 2 of them, actually, you could call it a match. It would be a decent match. So let's start from the top down. I have these in order by lightness, which is the L number. The lightness value of our tile, one more time, is 91.4. Barely There has the very same lightness value. Okay, so there's a thread of color relationship there if you want to try Barely There. So Barely There is kind of the same value as some of the lower areas. The tile has a little bit of texture to it. So kind of like the low lights is what Barely There picks up. So you absolutely could use Barely There. It's a Color Stories color from Benjamin Moore, which means they mix the color with no black or gray pigment. It is a story. The full spectrum paints, the Color Stories, very pretty colors. So I would definitely get a sample of Barely There. I would suggest that she invest in that sample for sure. Based on the lightness value, as well as its hue angle. Barely There has a hue angle of 95, and our tile has a hue angle of 97. Let's go take a look at that on the color wheel. So Barely There is at 95. Our tile has 87. So let's go pull up a color wheel and take a look at where we are in terms of color wheel, where we are in color space. So let's do that right now. I have my color wheel right here and we're sharing. So hue angle of our tile is at 87, which is right around here. And Barely There has a hue angle of about 95. So they're in close relationship, and Barely There does pick up, like I said, some of the variation in color in this tile. So that is an option. Okay, so moving on to other options. Gardenia is also on our list. So let's go take a look at Gardenia. Gardenia has a hue angle of 92, a little bit closer to 87, and it's a little bit darker, but not much darker than the tile. Gardenia actually picks up some of the highlights in the tile. And it has a chroma value of 3.7. So it has exactly the same amount of chromaticity as our tile. So it makes for a very good match with the tile if you wanted a color that matches. So barely pear would be, barely there would be a darker option, and gardenia would be the lighter option, kind of like low lights, highlights. What do you want to pick up? Definitely get samples of both. The other option here is white opulence. And it has a lightness value of 94.9, almost 95. So it's lighter, much, much lighter, lighter than gardenia. So how light do you want to go? And white opulence has a chromaticity of 3.3, and we're at 3.7 in the tile. So it's close enough. But white opulence has a hue angle of 85, which is a little bit different than barely there in gardenia, which is 95, 92. We're going the other way now in color space at 85. And we can go take a look at that on the color wheel. So we can get a sense of what our choices are for hue angle and hue family, and why it would make sense to get all three of these colors for comparison. So barely there in gardenia, we're at 95 and 92, right? And our tile is at 87. We're at 95 and 92. Our tile is at 87, and white opulence is around 85. So it's closer in terms of hue family. So that's why these three would be great options to get for comparison: white opulence, gardenia, and barely there. These are all really good options for this color conundrum, trying to make the yellowish tile look more white-ish. I can't really find a good spot for the barely there. So yeah, those are the options that I would recommend if she wants to get a paint color that closely aligns to the color of her tile, to make the yellowness in it make more sense. Now, if she wants to try to make it a little, if she wants to try to make it look a little more white, we have a different strategy. So again, we're going to take these numbers that we got when we measured the tile. Let me share my screen. And I put them in the filters at the top. But this time, I only did hue angle. I chose Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams again, but I mean, you have all of these brands to choose from. So it's up to you, whatever brand you want to work with. They're all in the Paint Color DNA table database. So I still used my hue angle range of 85 to 90. I did 85 to 90 this time. And I used the shortcut box of off-whites. I just checked it. And then all you have to do is hit search. And the Paint Color DNA table will give you a list of all of the paint colors that fit into this hue angle range. And you can see that it's a pretty short list. It's shorter than it looks because there's duplicates on here. Cream Froth from Benjamin Moore actually has 2 color numbers. So that's why it shows up twice. Flurry is another one. I don't know where its duplicate is. I'm going to have to look at that. But there are 2 flurries. And there are 2 white blushes from Benjamin Moore. So really it's white blush, futon, flurry, October sky, downy, and cream froth. So 5. There are 5 colors of off-white that are in the same hue family range as the tile. And I chose off-white this time because I wanted a little more chromaticity. And remember, our tile has a chroma value of 3.7. And I'm going to tell you a little rule of thumb. So if she wants this tile to look more white, she needs to choose a paint color that has more chromaticity to it. And she needs to make sure that she chooses a color of off-white that has at least 3.0 more in chroma than the tile. That rule of thumb, making sure that there's a difference in chroma of at least 3.0, between the tile and the paint color, the wall color, means that neither color will make the other one look dingy or dirty. Dingy and dirty is managed in the dimension of chromaticity, colorfulness. People get in trouble combining different colors of neutrals, especially whites and off-whites, because they don't know how to manage that dimension of chromaticity. So that's the rule of thumb. That's the trick. With the chroma value, the capital C on the paint color DNA table, make sure there's a difference of at least 3.0 in chromaticity between your colors of white or off-white, and you're good to go. So going by that rule of thumb and knowing that the filter did its job and the table is only showing us colors that relate to the tile in terms of hue family. So technically all of these colors go with the tile because they're all in the same hue family range. It's just a matter of which one do you want, right? Which one do you want to pull? And so looking at the list, I think a chroma value of 8.4 is a little too much. And that's a little too colorful for the kind of white on white, off-white, off-white color scheme that I would envision for that space to make the tile look its best. And going down the list, futon, I would pull futon for sure. But the other ones have just a little bit too much chromaticity, and in comparison to the tile, it could show up looking a little too peachy. But if you wanted to pull October Sky, just for comparison, you could. But the one I would select from the list, because these are the choices, right? These are the colors you have to choose from, period, in terms of an off-white that goes with this tile. So from the list, I would choose Downy. And here's Sherwin-Williams Downy right here. You can kind of see how it relates to the tile. It has a little more colorfulness to it. And as a result, let me get it situated. And as a result, it makes the tile look whiter. So I'm going to stop sharing and go back to StreamYard to make sure you can see what I'm seeing. Right? So that's how you make the tile look whiter, but not make it look dirty or dingy. It's actually very pretty together. So those are the solutions to a surprising result once your tile is installed and it's not the color that you thought it was going to be. I showed you how to avoid it to begin with, but if it happens, we need to measure the tile, get those data values, go into the paint color DNA table, and see what our options are from two different strategies. What are the options for paint colors that closely align, that almost look like they match the tile? Because that's one route we can go. And if we want to make it look more white, then we need to choose a paint color with a little more chromaticity, at least 3.0 more in chroma, to make the tile look more white. So those are the solutions. And you can pick up one of these devices online. Like I said, I'm going to give you the link. It is an affiliate link. This is my device of choice. A little less expensive device. Let me turn around here and get it for you. Is the NYX Mini 3. And she looks like this. Much smaller. But it's under $100. This one is like $300 or $400. I still haven't looked up to see how much this is. I should do that. But I also have a discount code for 10% off. So look for that too. But the NYX Mini will do the same thing. You can use it to, and the app looks the same, no matter which device you use. It will show you the LCH. You have to set up the app. And the app is super simple to set up. And I have videos about how to set up the app too. D65 Illuminate, 2-degree observer. That's the only thing you need to check off in the settings. And the LCH data values are the only data values that you need to display within the app. The app is super easy to navigate, goes with both of these devices. But yeah, that's how you do it. And these devices are essentially the paint store made portable. So they're, like I said in the beginning, everyone's using the same color system. There's only one color system. Paint brands are all using this system. The manufacturers of the tile are using the same system. If it exists, it has been measured. I say that all the time. And all we're doing is using a color measurement tool to lift that color information that already exists in the tile. So your paint color answers are already in here. You just need the right process and the right tool to read it, right? Tailored color. We can tailor your paint colors to your stuff, and we can measure anything. So it doesn't matter what your color conundrum is, there's a color strategy for it using the science. So that's all I have for you today. So thanks for being with me. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, we're good. Thanks.